Hello, music fans. Today I'm talking about my favorite bands that start with the letter T. Jumping right in, my favorite would be Tesseract. This is their album Altered State, which is my favorite of theirs. It's the only album of theirs not to feature Daniel Tompkins on vocals, and while I do really love Daniel Tompkins' vocals, I also really like the vocals of Ash O'Hara, who sang on this album. And I like the composition on this album, how they flow. They introduced a saxophone solo into the album as well, which is pretty cool. Um, yeah, it's progressive metal with of the gent style. Lots of cool atmospheric stuff. Lots of really cool syncopated rhythms and grooves. And my second favorite would be Thrice. This is their album, Artist in the Ambulance, and they're more on the post-hardcore side. That album for sure is on the post-hardcore side, but they've evolved a lot throughout their career. Like they started off this that was their third album, The Artist in the Ambulance from 2003. They started off their first two albums more kind of like post-hardcore screamo. They their first three albums are more like that, and then with Vesu in 2005, they get a bit more experimental. They're still post-hardcore, but they kind of become a little more experimental and artsy with the Alchemy Index, and then they move to more of an alternative rock sound after that with Beggars and onwards. And I've done a ranking video of their albums on my channel here with my friend Zandy. My number three is going to be Tool. This is their album Lateralis. Although my favorite of theirs is 10,000 Days, Lateralis was my second favorite album of theirs. I just don't own 10,000 Days, so I'm showing Lateralis. They are a progressive metal band as well, and their early stuff is maybe a bit more alternative metal rather than purely progressive, but they've always kind of had a hint of prog in them. And keeping it going with the prog side of things, I've got Thank You Scientist next, and their album Maps of Non-Existent Places, which is my favorite of theirs, and I believe that is their first album, and they have three, but they have another one coming this year as well, or it might just be an EP. Yeah, an EP called Plague Accommodations, coming November 19, 2021. So yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure. Maybe that album will already be out by the time I post this video. We'll see. More prog bands just to give some shout outs to. That's the end of my props. I don't have albums for the rest of these bands, but I want to give a shout out to Transatlantic, a progressive rock band. It's a super group with Neil Morse, Mike Portnoy, Royness Stolt, and Pete. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Trevavas. I don't know. Their album from this year, The Absolute Universe, is definitely in my top 10 albums of the year right now. All their work is really good. Yeah, highly recommend them if you like Mike Portnoy's drumming and you like progressive rock. You can't really go wrong with this band. Everything they do is great. And kind of the last one on the prog side that I want to mention is Toe Hider, a rock band from Australia, and they have a lot of variety in their large catalog. Progressive rock, some of their stuff's more poppy, or some hard rock, some metal, some folk. The vocals are kind of high pitched, really powerful vocals, kind of like Queen. Yeah, they're a really great band. And I've got four more groups and artists to mention here for the video today. But changing things up, I'm going to go over to more of the math rock side now. got TTNG, which was formerly known as This Town Needs Guns. I think I heard they changed their name because they had some issues when they played in China. The Chinese authorities didn't like their name or something because it mentioned guns. So now they just go by TTNG. And yeah, they play really cool math rock music. And next up will be the Tea Party, a Canadian band. They're kind of more on the hard rock side, kind of like some experimental stuff. They have a lot of Middle Eastern influence to their sound. Some of their albums have kind of like a industrial sound to them as well. Some of their songs are kind of bluesy, and some are even progressive as well. So this band's all over the map. Really talented group. I did a ranking video for their albums on my channel as well with my friend Nick. Two more to go in this video. 12 Foot Ninja is another Australian band. They're like alternative metal with lots of funk influences, some djent influences, very experimental, avant-garde. Their album from this year is amazing. Definitely my top 10 albums of the year right now. Their album's called Vengeance. Hard to say which of their albums of mine is my favorite because they're all so great and so equal. They've released 3 albums: Silent Machine, Outlier, and Vengeance, and they're all really great. And lastly, I'm going to mention the lead singer of Between the Buried and Me, who goes by Thomas Giles when he releases his solo albums. And his solo albums are pretty cool. They're like his outlet for his electronic songs and his alternative rock songs that don't really fit in to the progressive metal side of Between the Buried and Me. He writes some pretty cool songs, really nice vocal melodies. My favorite album of his would be Pulse. And that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed hearing about some great bands that start with the letter T. Let me know if I missed any. I'm sure I missed a lot, but these are the ones that I wanted to mention as kind of my favorite bands that start with the letter T. We'll talk about the letter U in the next video, which is actually really hard letter. There's not that many bands that start with U, but I'll see how I do on that one. Peace out.